What's up, everybody? It's Eric with Mind Melt Podcast, and today I have a super great guest. She's an amazing person, super inspirational. Her name's Megan Lawrence. She has a blog called In My Own Words, and it's really great, inspirational. You know, she started it, as she will talk about in the podcast, as a way to kind of post things anonymously, just when she was going through some hard things, and it turned into more of a positivity blog. And, you know, I just really enjoyed talking to her. She reached out to us a while back after she had listened to one of our episodes and just really enjoyed the dialogue. So I thought, what the hell, let's have a dialogue of our own. And I am so glad that we did, because after our conversation, I just felt so happy. And, you know, it's just great to meet people that are truly just trying to help others. And I hope that you enjoy this conversation today. Be sure to follow Megan. She's on Instagram under Megan Lawrence and In My Own Words. And, you know, check out her blog and just let us know what you think. So also just wanted to give kind of a quick update. You know, I've gotten a lot of good feedback on the podcast with Lawrence Krauss, a lot of good feedback on the most recent podcast. You know, it seems like we've just been on a run lately with getting great guests on here. And so, but it unfortunately has made it so Kendra and I haven't been able to record a podcast together. So that will be happening sometime this week. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for the support. It seems like, you know, lately we've been getting a lot of feedback and a lot of nice messages and a lot of followers on Twitter and things. And so thank you everybody for the support. And if you want to go an extra mile on support, just leave us a review on iTunes or Stitcher, because that would mean a lot. Also, we've got our newest podcast, Top Tier Underground, coming out tomorrow, Tuesday, January 1st, which is super exciting. I cannot express in words how excited I am for this. So please check that out, and we will be releasing 3 or 4 episodes just on the launch date, and then it'll be every Monday after that. So both podcasts are coming out on Mondays, so just keep an eye out for that. Again, that's Top Tier Underground, and what it is it's just bass music. And for those of you that don't know what bass music is, it's just electronic music that's slower tempo, kind of hip-hop infused. And these artists that I have talked to so far, just amazing artists, and they're great people, and they're some friends of ours. And so we have some really exciting artists coming up on that. I don't want to give too much away, but that is really exciting, and we're working on a website for that as well. So, and we're going to have some merch on that website. So just keep your guys' eye out for that. And without further ado, it is Megan Lawrence. Have a great day. Bye. Yeah, so I think that what's cool about the internet in general is that it connects you with people like this, where you and I, you know, we just met online, and obviously there's some similar vibes or whatever. That's why you got into contact with us and we started talking. And so because of that, it brings this element of community and online. And so I don't know if you listened to the most recent episode with Kendra that I did, not the one that I did with Mick, but okay. So we were talking about how we're going to start, we want to start doing this. Basically it's like a retreat. That's a 5-day retreat. That's all about bringing the community together, because we have these really cool ideas online, and we talk to people that we enjoy online, and there's all these, you know, coaching online and cool blogs online. And like, I'm really into skeptical thinking, so I listen to a lot of skeptical thinking stuff online. But online is so it's this far away, you know, it's not there. And I think the problem with like where we're at right now, as far as the culture goes, is that we have this online connection, but we don't know how to bring it into the real world anymore. So it's like before it was the opposite, where, you know, we had this like, I mean, 500 years ago or something, there was like this sense of community. I'm assuming I didn't live back then, but there's a sense of community, and people really relied on each other. And now it's so easy to be alive that we don't really rely on each other, except for this digital, like dopamine boost, you know? Yeah,
exactly. I completely agree. I do love, gosh, there's so many pros and cons when it just comes to social media, but for the most part, yes, it allows us to connect to people that we would have never have known were out into the world. I mean, what, a little over 10 years ago? But it's allowed us to connect in such a way that I don't know, it allows us to be vulnerable in a different level, but then also keep our guard up in another way.
right.
So it's just finding that like balance between building that bridge to make the connections actually more real. And because I've had a handful of friendships where it's like, oh wow, I've only known these people from a social media standpoint. And there is this like compartmentalized part of my brain that's like, oh, they're your internet friends.
Right.
But it's like, I don't want them to be my internet friends.
Yeah.
I just want them to be, I don't even know why I put them in a box, but that's what it goes there.
That's just part of the way that the brain works. We compartmentalize everything. And that's why I think that if we do this retreat thing, it's going to be really cool, because we're going to basically, like, the whole premise of it is that we're going to take like, I just talked about this on the most recent podcast, but I'm just going to tell you, just people that listen to the podcast may have already heard this, but whatever. So basically, like, what we're going to do is a 5-day retreat where the first day is going to be just meeting the people that are there, like talking, socializing. There's going to be like team building exercises that are about, you know, getting to know each other and kind of like, you know, name learning and just like basic elementary school camp stuff, right? Yeah. And then the second day is going to be intensive workouts and training, and it's going to be like yoga, meditation, you know, food education, relationship coaching, like all these, like, we're going to bring in relationship coaches and bring in nutrition coaches, and I have like, luckily I have friends that do this stuff, so it's not going to be too difficult, you know? And then the whole idea of it is like what you're saying is so that we want to put people through a hard experience.
Yeah.
Like a positive experience, but a hard experience nonetheless. So it's going to like challenge you and make you rely on the people that you're there with. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, Kendra and I do music stuff. So when we go to music festivals, it's really cool because you're going to meet these really like enlightened people. And it's this really, this great, like, alternative group of people that have like similar beliefs and are kind of there for the same reason. And they're, you know, trying to express who they are. And it's very expressive and artful, but it comes with the caveat of being surrounded with drugs and alcohol, not really connecting because you're, for the most part, being influenced by the drugs and alcohol. So it's like, yeah, everything is nice, but a relationship can only go so far when you're under the influence. That's just the way it is. So this is a way where it's going to be bringing those same kinds of ideals with people that are on the same wavelength together. So because they want to be there, that's why they're there, right? So obviously they're there for the same mission, which is going to be to grow. And so if everybody's there on the same mission, they're going to be interested in what the other people are doing because it's under the same premise, but it's going to be forced connection in a way. And it, you know, it sounds kind of like weird, but it's going to be like team building exercises and all, you know, like cooking for each other and this thing. So you might find people in the group that you hate. You might find people in the group that you love. You might find connections that you're going to have for 30 years and connections that you wish you never met, you know, but at the end of it, you guys, like, you know, the people there, me included, will have this experience that is hopefully going to last a lifetime. You know, it's going to be and the whole thing behind it is called, like, it's going to be called Reboot Camp. So it's like trying to reboot the mind because we get stuck in these cycles. Wake up, go to work, come
Yeah.
home, make dinner,
Yeah.
whatever.
I mean, I love that idea just you're taking it back to the basic understanding of like, that's what people did. They had a community of people. Everyone put in their half of the work. They didn't complain about the work that was being done because that was just
Right.
what you did. And then at the end of the day, you came back together and it was like, that was fun. Let's talk
Yeah.
about it. Like,
Yeah.
like,
And if you did
I love
complain, you
that.
got pushed out, like
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds kind of harsh, but the weakest links of the group didn't last long. And that's why, you know,
Yeah.
a lot of like Native American cultures and stuff like that. They had these like Russian cultures. They have these genes that are like, because in a place like Russia, it's cold. You have to rely on other people because it's not like a place like Hawaii where it's like perfect weather all the time. Food is easy. You don't even really need shelter. It's like
Yeah.
everything is great. So it doesn't create these same kinds of bonds. Not to say that Hawaiians are any less intense or whatever, but you know what I mean? It's like when you're forced into the circumstance of relying on other people, it tends to create lifelong bonds.
Mm-hmm.
So I am glad that we got that going, that part of the conversation going, but I really want to do like an introduction. And
Okay.
I'm here with Megan Lawrence. And you are a blogger.
Yeah.
And what else do you do?
Gosh.
What's your blog about? And who are you? Where do you live? All that stuff.
Well, I'm located in Florida
What part?
and
Sorry.
up in the like northwest corner.
Okay.
No, northeast corner, like Jacksonville.
I used to live down there in Vero
Okay.
Beach. Do you know where that
Okay.
is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
I
cool.
Yeah, I grew up in the Tampa, St. Pete area, and I recently moved up to Jacksonville as like the start of my new recovery life,
Oh, cool.
which has been going great. Yeah. So I came across you guys on Instagram. Well, I actually found you through Whitney Miller just because like we had that Aubrey Marcus connection, and then one thing led to another. I was like, oh, she was on their podcast, and then here we are.
Sure.
But my Instagram, I started that so like probably around 4 or 5 years ago. And it really started out as like a sad, kind of depressing page for a girl who just wanted to express her emotions. Not that I had
Okay.
any idea like what I was feeling at the time, but it made me feel better to write about it. And it just kind of gained this following that I was never expecting. It became something that it was ultimately just a place for me to like, I don't know, get my emotions out in a healthy way. But I found like over time, some of the people that I was attracting tended to be very negative just because what I was putting out there seemed to be pretty dark. And then because I started my page like before I removed the hardcore drugs and alcohol from my life. So that was a little over 3 years ago now. So that page started as just kind of like a diary for people to relate to in a sad way. Then the sobriety thing happened and my intentions were way more directed towards the light. Like it was just a new boost of life, I guess, that I needed. And so that's when my website was born, Healing Hopefuls. And it just became a place for me. I shared my story with the world and I allow other people to go on there and share a piece of themselves if they want to. And then I also I write articles whenever they come to me. And it's just been a good, awesome passion project for me and a way for me to also have my own like type of connection in this world. People can reach out to me personally and I love it.
So is it mostly about like healing from drugs and alcohol, or is there?
So the blog itself is just kind of like the articles can be relationship based. They can be job based. They can be just everyday interaction kind of stuff. Maybe podcasts that I'm into. Sometimes I'll do like I don't know, my top 5 podcasts or just like stuff like that. Really just me being vulnerable and allowing anyone the space to either speak up or reach out to me on their own or just something for them to ponder. It doesn't even, they don't have to react to it in any way. It's really just, this is my thoughts on the world and maybe it speaks to you, maybe it doesn't, but
That's really cool.
yeah.
It's super unique too. I mean,
yeah, I hope so.
that's badass. So, like you said before that you kind of attracted some negative people to it. Do you think that that's still the case or is it a lot more,
Uh,
I mean negative, obviously that's kind of a umbrella term for,
yeah, that was more so on my Instagram, because when my Instagram page, when it first came about, my intentions were to just be very anonymous.
oh,
Um,
okay.
I didn't really want people to know who I was sharing, what I was sharing with the world. It started to get really strange when people I knew close to me found my page, probably through like my phone number connected or something. So then I got to this weird like fork in the road where I was like, do I continue the anonymous route, or do I just, this is who I am, like take it or leave it kind of thing? And so
Yeah.
I went that route.
That's the way to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's difficult. It can be difficult, but it's like you'll never have to worry about anybody being caught off guard, you know?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah,
And so when I first started sharing, what I meant by negative, I just meant I was in a very dark place. So the things that I was writing, a lot of people called it poetry. I never referred it to that, just because they were thoughts that were they just came to me. So I wrote them down. I didn't consider them anything other than what they were.
right.
So because I wasn't in a great place in my life, the writing itself may have been portrayed in a beautiful way, but it was very clear that the person who wrote it was not just, I just attracted that kind of energy, I guess.
Sure.
So
And
yeah.
so that was like when so you moved up north to get away from alcohol and drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I had already been sober at that point when I
Okay.
moved up here, but it was just, I've been there, done that kind of thing. When I was
Sure. Yeah. You want a new chapter.
yeah, I wanted to meet new people, just see what else was out there. I'm a firm believer in life is too short to stay in one place anyway, regardless
Yeah.
of the situation. I always knew I thought that I would move at some point. I just didn't know what would be the catalyst.
Hmm. What made you move up there?
My best friend was up here, so it was an easier transition for me. I was going to make an impulsive decision to move out to Austin, Texas,
Man,
and
that would be a good impulsive decision. Austin's
I
great.
know. At that time in my recovery, though, I was just like, man, I don't know anyone out here. I feel like I would just be making that old self-sabotage Megan type of decision, and not the you're on the right track decision. So
Sure.
Austin's still on the table. Like, it's definitely still an option. It's in the back of my mind all the time. But at that point in my life, Jacksonville just, it felt right when I
Yeah.
did it. So yeah.
That's cool. You ever go out to St. Augustine?
Yeah, love St. Augustine.
So cool.
Has such an awesome little personality. It just has
Yeah,
its own
totally.
little world. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it up there. What about like more north? Like, do you ever go to North Carolina or anything? Or
I actually was just in North Carolina. That's funny.
what part?
Uh, Canton.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Um,
funny. I just met someone that is from there
really?
recently. Yeah, up
Yeah,
here,
small
which
world.
is, yeah, that's kind of funny, but it is a small world because you don't meet a lot of people from the East Coast or that area of the country over here very often.
Yeah.
So that's funny.
Yeah, I love North Carolina. I have some of my best memories are from there actually. But that's completely unrelated for why I was there this most recent time, but it kind of was one of those experiences that you were talking about with your intention with the retreat that you want to put on.
Yeah.
That was what we went there for.
Okay.
And it was just, you're completely disconnected from your phone. You have no Wi-Fi connection. We were up in the trees. It was just, the silence was so loud. It was screaming at you. And it was just like, this is what life is like. You're
Yeah.
forced to feel it. And you just have your thoughts in the company that you surround yourself with. And it was such an impactful, like, without psychedelics or anything, like just completely sober and just not a mind altering experience. It was a really profound experience in my life. It was awesome.
That's wicked. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's really cool. Do you ever go over in this side of the world, like the West Coast?
I haven't been to the West in a long time. The farthest out west I've ever been is Colorado.
That's pretty
And
far.
I fell in love with that state though.
Yeah.
It was when I was like, I think I was 15. So it's been a long time, but man, it was the perfect experience.
It's awesome. Colorado's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys are in Idaho, right? I've never been there.
Yeah, we're in the most well, pretty much the most northern part of the state. We're like
Okay.
almost Canada.
All
And
right.
But we both lived in Boise, which is the southern part of the state, which is about 6 hours away. So it's not like, well, I guess Florida is really long, but a lot of places, it's like when you say that, it's like we moved 2 hours. But Kendra and I lived in Boise, and then we moved down to California for a little bit, and then we moved to North Idaho. And this is where I lived from the time I was like 5 until I was 12. And then I moved and I lived down in Florida,
Okay, yeah.
But this is, it's the most northern part of the state. It's very weird. I mean, it's like super, super religious, super Republican, or that's fine. Like, I don't care, but it's just it's really different than I guess California where we were, and so it's kind of it's different for me because I've always been around like music, and I've always been in that world. And well, not always, but when I lived in Boise, I was a club promoter, and I also produce music and play music, and I played pretty much like at least 2 or 3 times a month down in Boise. So moving up here has been a very interesting transition.
Yeah.
Going from like not having a normal job to now I have a totally normal job, and so
yeah,
but yeah, you got to come up here. For sure. Yeah, it's really cool. You should come up here sometime and visit.
I want to go everywhere. There's really nothing that's off limits to me.
Absolutely. Yeah, good. That's how it should be. I feel the exact same way. Like, my goal with the podcast is to travel and do it eventually, and
that's a good goal to have.
Yeah. So that's, I figure like 2 to 3 year goal, where I'm starting another podcast too. I don't know if you knew that, but
I didn't. Yeah.
So with the music that we make, it's called West Coast based music. It's kind of like a specific genre of electronic music, but I know tons of West Coast based music artists that they're great people and I love them. And so I want to try to like create a platform that specifies that genre. And basically it's going to be interviews like this with an hour mix afterwards, DJ mix afterwards. And it's called Top Tier Underground. And that's going to launch on January 1st. So I'm hoping that will also provide a way for me to travel and do podcasting, because I want to do like city, like monthly city things, like where I do like Seattle and just have, like 4 Seattle artists and interview them, and just go to Seattle, interview all the artists, have them do the mix with me on camera live, and and then release those that way. But
that'd be awesome.
Down the road, that's just long-term plans. So but is there any places? What places do you want to go to the most?
Oh man, just like all over the world, or just in America?
Well, we can start with America and then the rest.
Okay. Man, I would say America, like my top 3 places that I want to go is that I've never been before, I'm assuming. Or where I've been, I just want to return.
Sure. How about that? Because then that means that there's a damn good reason.
Okay. Charleston, South Carolina is on that list.
Yeah, totally.
I've only been to that city one time, but that's all it took. My heart is still there. I loved it so much. Like, it was just one of those cities that I could totally see myself just blending in for like 6 months and just being a fly on the wall, people watching, eating the great food. It was just the cutest little eccentric town that I've been to in a long time. Louisiana, I love just for the voodoo-ness of it. Like, I love.
That's funny. I've never been there.
Oh man, it's awesome. I mean, it's not great for people who no longer drink, but luckily I crossed that city off my to-do list like 3 months before I decided to get on the wagon.
Yeah. So but, do you not drink at all?
Mm-mm.
Okay, cool.
Not at all. Yeah. Yeah, that's weird to say.
Why is that weird?
It's just because I never once in my life thought that that would be a thing. But now looking back on it, it's like, wow, I've been doing this thing for a little over 3 years now. Just
Yeah.
kind of,
Well, I mean, if it means anything to you, I don't drink either
yeah,
most of the time. Like, I mean, I, I'm not so strict with myself that I won't ever do it,
yeah,
but it's not that great where I do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's so rare that I drink because it's
yeah,
just not cool. It's like not, it doesn't do it for me, you know?
yeah.
So you're not missing out on anything.
No, yeah, I totally, and people already, they ask me that all the time. They're just like, don't you think you're missing out? I'm like, I feel like I've met my life quota with alcohol. Like, I'm good. Like, I still
Yeah.
like going out. I still like being a part of, like, I still love socializing. There is a small percentage of me that, even though I am more introverted than extroverted, I thought I was extroverted, but then turns out that was just the gin flowing through
Right.
my system.
Exactly.
But so I still love going out, but there is a time where it's like in my mind, I'm like, all right, these people are starting to ask me the same questions. Like they're getting to that point where it's time for me to go home.
Yeah.
Conversations are no longer like benefiting anyone. So,
Right. And
but
the
I
voice
still,
levels get louder
yeah,
it's
but
like the voices go up and the conversation goes down, you know?
yeah, for sure. So yeah, eventually I mentally check out and I'm just like, all right, I've spent what I can here on
Totally.
energy wise for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have those boundaries too because it makes you appreciate the connection with people more. Like it's, you
Yeah.
know, it's not fake. It's authentic. You're there and
Hmm.
you're totally there. And when
Yeah.
you want to leave, you'll totally leave and it's not like you're drinking yourself out of there. You know what I mean? Like out of the you're mentally checking out just because you're wasted and it's,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
So,
I literally don't miss that at all. I never knew if I would end up liking myself by the end of the night. I never knew where I would end up by the end of the night. Like it's just there's great memories attached to my drinking days for sure. Like
sure.
that I don't take that away forever. But there became a point in my life where it became something else other than a socializing lubricant. It became more of like oh, I don't feel things when I drink this much. And it became something darker. And it's been these past like 3 years of figuring out why I did that. So it's been interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's been good though. Like learning all of those things about myself. It's only allowed me to become self-aware and just tap into the greater part of my potential instead of how great of a binge drinker I can be. I already learned that I'm great at that. I don't care anymore.
Well, yeah, and alcohol is like a what it does to the brain and
Mhm.
just it's just not good. I mean, there's
Yeah.
like with smoking weed or, you know, I don't know, eating L or something, at least like there's something you can grasp at the end of it where drinking alcohol, at the end of drinking alcohol, you're just like, okay, I feel like shit. You know, the I made a bunch of poor decisions,
Yeah.
potentially spent way too much money and now I'm at somebody's house and I don't have my car.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I never was in a good situation really. Like there's
mhm.
never once where it's like, yeah, that alcohol made me like become a way better human tonight.
Right.
I earned some points for life today.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So, okay, so Louisiana, Charleston.
And then probably Seattle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever
I've
been to
never
Seattle?
been,
Okay.
no, but there's something pulling me there. I'm
Cool.
being pulled in so many directions, but Seattle's one of them for sure.
Yeah. Well, Seattle is really cool. We're about 4 hours away from Seattle,
Oh, really?
maybe five.
Ah, I feel like I drive there all the time.
Um, we we don't like we've driven there a few times. You know, I'm trying to think of maybe just a couple since we've lived up here.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't really like Seattle that much to be honest with you.
Okay.
But I mean, it's a really cool place to visit. The traffic is horrible, and it just depends on what you're there for. There's like if you're there on vacation, it's cool, obviously, but vacation's cool just about everywhere.
Yeah.
But um, it's just very like cloudy. I lived in Seattle for a while.
Oh,
I
you
think,
did?
yeah. So that's
Yeah.
probably why I
You
don't
have a much different perspective on
perspective on it. Yeah,
it.
it's like it's
Yeah.
always cloudy, it's always raining, and there's just the traffic is horrible. It's
Yeah.
like the worst city traffic I can think of aside from LA.
Y-
So
All right. Yeah, that's not fun. I
no, but
want to
you should
add
definitely go though.
I want to add Anchorage, Alaska to my list,
Yes.
but only when the sun's up. Like for
See,
my
I feel the opposite.
Oh, you want to go when it's dark?
Well, maybe both. I like the I mean Anchorage I think isn't quite as bad as it doesn't stay dark and light as much as like northern Alaska does.
Yeah.
But I love like where we live in northern Idaho. It's like right now there's only like 4 or 5 hours of dark or light during the day. It's
Oh,
like
really?
yeah, it gets dark here at like 4 p.m. and it gets
Wow.
light around like maybe 9, I think. So
Yeah, that's
um,
crazy. I'm close to
yeah,
the equator.
right. Yeah, I know it is really weird. But I actually really for some reason I like the nightness. I don't know what it is. I'm weird.
Yeah. Are you more of like a night owl?
I used to be. I mean, I
Yeah.
used to, especially when I was doing drugs
Yeah.
because I wasn't sleeping. So,
Yeah.
and I always, and I always found this really bizarrely like I don't even know how to explain it but it's my favorite memories is when I would be awake and everybody else in the world, basically not the world, but my immediate world would be sleeping because there's no traffic. And I just remember warm summer nights and it being so slow and something about just like looking out the window and nothing going on. I just loved. I don't know what it is. It's so weird. It doesn't. And I
Yeah.
I like the stars. So
Yeah. I mean, I do love the stars.
yeah,
I don't know. I associate sun with like my amount of productivity I'm gonna be.
totally.
But I am both a night owl and a morning person.
Me
Like
too.
back from my bartending days, I mean, there would be times where I didn't go to bed until like 4 or 5 a.m., but then I still had a manager day job that I would. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know how I honestly survived. It just had to be a younger age and Adderall.
Yeah, me
Was
too. I mean, I'm like I am a pretty my mind never really chills, so
yeah,
I
I
don't
feel ya.
even now that I don't do drugs, I get like 4 or 5 hours on average, per
Yeah,
night, which is not good for you or your brain, but
yeah,
that's just how I am, and it's gonna bite me in the ass one day, but um yeah, I mean, like I'm always up no matter what at like at least 6, most of the time earlier than that, 4, 5. But it's always funny because whenever I'd go to festivals and stuff like that, we'd go out and we'd party at night, and then everybody get back to the tent and camp around like maybe 3 or 4, and then I'd be up at like 7, and everybody else in the entire festival basically would be sleeping. So I'd like clean the camp area, make some food, sit around, just look at stuff, and then you know, and then people would finally start to get awake, and it was like they'd be like rolling out of bed, and I would be totally juiced and ready to go, you know. But that's just how I'm definitely an early morning person, so it's kind of funny. But
Yeah, my body wakes me up regardless of if I actually
me
want
too.
to get up, but
Yep.
it's all right.
Me too. Me too. I don't know what it is. It's just it, but it's kind of a good thing though. Kendra is the total opposite. I drive her crazy because she likes to sleep in until like 10 or 11 sometimes. Yeah, and I'll just drag her out of bed. So, but it's yeah, it's kind of funny. But
Yeah, that would be, I mean, I'm sure it's like better in the long run. She'll thank you for being able to wake her up early.
yeah, no, she does. And sometimes, because we live pretty far away from where we work, so sometimes we'll carpool,
Yeah.
and she probably thinks I'm crazy because I get up and I'm like playing music and dancing and whatever. And then she's always like, leave me alone. And then afterwards, she's like, okay, I like getting up with you because at least you're happy, you know?
Yeah.
But so we're outside of the country.
Oh, well, I'll be going to Peru soon, so I'm looking forward to that.
Word. What are you doing in Peru?
Going to the jungle.
Really? Are you gonna
Yeah,
do medicine down there, or
I am.
that's awesome?
Yeah, I have, so one of my best guy friends, his name's Josh. He lives out in Colorado.
Hmm.
And at first, I actually met him through my writing page. He has a writing page on there too. We started like collaborating together, and eventually we became pen pals. And then that pen pal just became like, we're just really good friends. We talk about everything.
Hmm.
And we connected on that whole mindset. Like, he's the one who actually told me about Aubrey Marcus like years ago. And he's like, you really got to check out this guy. Da, da, da. And then when I listened to Aubrey, I was like, oh my God, he's speaking to my soul. Like, he's saying the words that I know inside of me, just I wasn't able to express.
Yeah.
And so that was like an awesome connection that we had. So I knew that he was down for the plant medicine because that was something that had been on my radar for a little bit at that point. And so it was about 3 years coming. And then I was just like, let's pull the trigger on this. Let's go. Let's book the trip. Let's just do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Have you ever done anything like that?
Not
DMT
as,
or
oh, I mean, I'm very much a firm believer in correct set and setting and using those drugs to just, I don't know, make you aware of things that you need to be made aware of that
Sure.
you're just not facing on your own.
Yeah.
Not because you can't face it, just because there's, I don't know, something unconsciously wanting to block it.
Yeah, it's like it's because you don't have enough will. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Those things tend to break down those barriers faster than you know how to handle it, you know, which is a good thing.
Yeah. So I mean, ever since, I don't know, I've just always had that mindset where it's like, I'm completely open-minded to knowing what exactly my worst flaws are. Like, I want to be shown the deepest of the deep of it. Like, tell me who I am. I might not like it, but I'll be able to change it. I don't want to keep acting out my life in like repeated toxic cycles and just be completely oblivious to them. And, you know, like, I want to know all that stuff.
Yeah, so, I agree. That's awesome.
Mother ayahuasca. Hopefully she has got
don't worry. She will. You don't even have to. Yeah. No matter what. I mean, yeah. So that's great though. I'm super envious in a good way, not in a bad way. So have you ever been out of the country before?
Yeah. A couple years ago I went to Costa Rica. Loved Costa Rica.
What part?
We flew into just, I don't know, their main.
Yeah.
What
Santa Cruz, or isn't it
San Jose? Gosh.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yes.
I know something in California, like a California name, but yeah.
Then we flew to that large volcano that is there and stayed at this awesome little like hut place, like right at the bottom of it. And we just did a bunch of awesome excursions and, I don't know, got to be a part of the culture for a bit. And in my head the whole time I was like, it's nice to know that this is an option. Like, shit, I would totally just fly here and just live cheaply and happily.
That was, my goal for so long was to move down there.
To Costa Rica specifically, or just? Yeah,
specifically,
down? Yeah. It is such a nice, happy, friendly place. Yeah,
I don't know if you heard our Silk Road episode. Did you listen to that one?
I don't think
we talked about the Silk Road.
I'll have
so
to add that.
Yeah, Kendra and I, in that episode, we talked about, just how we got into trouble a while back. Like, well, we didn't, I did, I guess, but we were together and we were just hustling hard drugs and ended up having the feds raid us and all this stuff. It was crazy. But we were saving up money to start we wanted to start an intentional community in Costa Rica. So we were like, our goal was like 50,000 or something. And we were like almost there. and that was like we were gonna just like leave and go down there, and then everything came crashing down, as it does when you do that for a living. So, but yeah, that's one of our crazy
Man,
stories. But Costa
it does sound
Rica's
like an awesome dream of yours.
it was it yeah. I mean, I still, who knows what the future holds. There's
Yeah,
other
no,
places I think I want to go to. Well, I mean, Canberra is still stuck on that because it's close to the equator. It's warm. I'm like, let's go to Iceland. And I love the idea of harsh weather and
yeah. One of my best friends lives there.
in Iceland.
Yeah, she went over there because she was playing professionally. She
Mhm.
played over there and ended up loving it so much. Met someone over there. She just had a baby. She's like, yeah, I'm not leaving.
Yeah, it's
She
so
loves it
cool.
so much.
I
Yeah.
want to go there so bad. I've never been there, but I'm just obsessed. I think that it's a really awesome government, and
Hmm.
just the history is really cool. And I like that they're like super secular. Religion isn't a thing. It's not.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the idea of keeping religion out of politics and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I think that's great.
Yeah. They seem like they have a very like down to earth approach to things where it's just like,
Yeah,
we're chill.
yeah. It's
Like,
like
don't make problems and we won't make problems.
they only
Like,
have, I think,
yeah.
30,000 or 40,000 or something people in their main city. It's in like their capital or whatever, the bigger city. It's like really small population.
I can't pronounce anything Icelandic.
Yeah, and then they have I can't think of what it's called right now, but they have like a, a church, I guess, but it's not really a church. It's to the land,
Yeah.
and have
Okay.
you seen this?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, you should check it out. It's not like a church. It's just a community building that's for like Mother Nature, basically.
Okay.
And it has all these cool colors and crazy architecture, and it's just I want to go there so bad.
Do it. I
So
do too, but I want to go when the Northern Lights are there.
me too.
Yeah.
And they have geothermal pools, like big. You know what I'm talking about, like the big ass
Are you talking
warm.
like like that lagoon place that they have there? Lagoon? Did I say
I don't
that?
know. Yeah, but I don't know if that's what I'm talking about. It's like the geothermal energy that they have. It's all just hot water basically that
Hmm.
comes up through to the surface. And they're like hot water springs, and
Okay.
but they have big ass lakes that are like hot tubs. They're warm water, so you can go and swim in the geothermal lakes and
Yeah, that
watch the
sounds
northern
cool.
lights. And you know I have this huge I've had this huge like vision of playing music there for some reason. I mean, I doubt
Yeah.
that they're trying to have people come play music in their lake, but but that was like something I always thought would be really cool, would be to throw a show there and like play music under the northern lights with just this big ass pool party at night, but it's
Yeah.
warm because they have geothermal pools. It'd
Go
be
with
so
it.
cool. Yeah. I have I have no knowledge of how that stuff works over there, but I think I had like a vision of that like one time when I was on psychedelics or something, and it just stuck with me ever since then. So
Hey, I say go for it then. If it stuck with you, then it's for a reason. You're being
totally.
pulled there.
Yeah. Well, that, and then another one is Norway. Like, have you ever seen pictures of Norway?
I have only heard just how great that area is, like that Denmark, Finland, Norway, like all of that, just that whole Dutch
Yeah.
area seems
Yeah.
to be like a very friendly, happy place. They're
Yeah,
doing
totally.
something right.
Yes, they are. I don't know what it is, but they all seem way happier, and they have like higher education. I mean, than us by far. But they have just these huge mountains, and it looks so beautiful.
Yeah.
So
I mean, just so many places. You can go any place and find at least one. You can go to any state or country
hmm
but some of them just have like way more than certain places.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say Saudi Arabia might be lacking in beauty, but if you're not into deserts, that is, I'm not really into deserts, so I'd have a
Yeah, that would be like there's probably one.
yeah.
One.
Yeah. Well, the
That's
only
terrible. I just ruled out a whole country. I apologized.
that's okay. I don't think anybody's gonna be upset with you. Um, so have you ever been to a desert before?
No.
Okay, because there is one good thing about deserts, and
Okay.
that's the sunrise and the sunset. So, well, two. That's two things.
Yeah.
There, it is when you're in the desert and you see the sunrise. It is like life changing.
Yeah.
It's crazy because
That's cool.
it's flat and vast, and you just so many colors, and it's so beautiful.
I
So,
bet.
Burning Man, is that on your bucket
Oh,
list?
oh my God. Is it ever?
Cool.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Well, you definitely should.
I just want there to be like a country where it's Burning Man all the time. And by Burning Man all the time, I just mean like there's art everywhere, people can be naked, and everyone just loves everyone.
I have a feeling that there's countries like that.
Oh,
I
Portugal?
maybe I've never been to Portugal, but I think that it seems, like Switzerland and a lot of the Norwegian countries. I don't know about the naked all the time, but definitely art and beauty and just very progressive thinking, I guess. And
Yeah.
it seems like that. I've never been there, so I'm only talking from what I've heard from people I've met. But
Yeah.
so have you ever been to any electronic type shows like that? Like, I mean, not that
Um,
Burning Man's like just about that, but
Not in a long time, and not since, I mean, when I was going to festivals, they were when I was abusing drugs. Like, I haven't been to one with a healthier mindset. So it's been,
well, you got to find the ones with healthy mindsets,
yeah.
because there are some, and not much where you're at, but on
Yeah.
the West Coast, there's a lot. Like there's one called Beloved in Oregon, and it is. I mean, I remember being there and like talking to this dude who he was telling me, that he came with his friends, and his friends are like crazy ass partiers, and he was like, but they won't even do drugs or drink because everybody has this like unspoken expectation for everybody to be on their best behavior. And that's just how it is. It's like there's kids running around, and it's this really forward thinking. I mean, on the trails, there's like informational stands that are like, that people, just attendees put up, that are like, stop coal mining here, or whatever, with information packets and the
So it's
music.
like an information festival?
No, 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 no. I'm just saying that the people that are going are they're so like conscious, I guess, or
Okay.
whatever. They're so they care so much about shit that the attendees set up
Okay.
things on the trail side to the stages.
Okay.
Like, I mean, that's just how it was when I was there. I haven't been there in a couple years, but this, and then the guy that books the music books it in this way that's like a story. So he'll book and there's only one stage, which they do on purpose to try to keep everybody together.
Yeah.
And the way that he books it is like, 6 p.m. he'll have like soft introductory music where it's just like maybe, I don't know, like a sitar and singing, and then 7 o'clock it might kind of amp it up, and then 8 o'clock, and then by like 2 a.m. it's just like super beautiful, heavy, electronic music, and then it transitions out of that into like drumming, and then by the morning it's like, I don't know, like hand drumming and
Oh,
flutes or
yeah.
something, so something like stereotypical beautiful morning music. So it's like there's events like that where, as someone like me who, I was a drug addict or whatever, I don't like to put myself around those things much anymore. It's just, I first of all, I know shitloads of people in the scene. So no matter what event I go to, I'm going to know like tons of people there. And most of the people don't, not that they don't care, but they just don't understand, how one thing for me leads to another, which leads to another. And it's this domino effect,
Yeah.
And so for me, I try to like keep distance from that stuff, but there are events like the one that I was just talking about where it's, it's mature. It's adults with kids that want to go and connect over music and have fun and dance and not be judged. But, so I would recommend.
I definitely like the concept behind that. That is cool. And
Yeah.
I totally think that there needs to be a lot more experiences like that for people to be able to go to.
Yeah.
Just because I think that's what we're truly lacking, just
absolutely
in general. That's
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
That's like totally our goal with this retreat thing that we want to do, because we're going to have music at that as well. But that's like the goal with that is just to bring things together in this healthy way where we're going to have teachers that are teaching you how to eat better, possibly if you want to learn how to do that, or have better relationships with people. Like we talked to Whitney about being a guest speaker there, and so that way it can be an experience that people can learn and then take it back to their communities. And it's not, it's like something where hopefully you learn something, because at Burning Man, what happens is you have it's the best comparison for what Burning Man is a psychedelic trip. Okay. When you eat acid or something and you get skyrocketed up to the top and you get this huge overload of self-reflection and stuff. And then you come back down, you're like, holy shit, that was crazy. And then 2 weeks later, you're like not really even able to totally reflect on that anymore. It kind of dwindles out. That's what something like Burning Man can be like. You meet all these amazing people and you get all these great connections and you have these tools that you want to bring back, but you don't really know how to, because it's not like a thing that you can teach. It's just this big immersive experience.
Yeah.
And then it's over. So
that is the unfortunate part of it.
But we can take these tools and bring them back to our community. Like we can do it.
Yes. I 150% agree with that. And I ultimately think that that's going to be, because right now I think we'll probably still be on that technology wave for a little bit, but there's going to come a point where it's like, all right, to counterbalance this technology stuff that I think people will eventually, I think, get over it. It's just like, there's got to be something else that's going to have to entertain us. And then I think it's just like a repeated cycle of we go back to where we started, which is like, let's get back to the basis of community and coming together and sitting around a bonfire and talking about stuff that actually matters instead of mindlessly scrolling for 3 hours and wondering like why our dreams aren't being accomplished.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And I think that it's important to talk about it and be like, another thing that sucks about being an adult or being, I don't know, when you're a kid and you talk about your dreams, people think they're cute. And then, like you can express a little bit, but as an adult, if you say something like, I want to be a full-time musician, people are just like, what the fuck? Really? That's what you need to go get a real job. You need to work 9 to 5. You need, all these things. And it's not realistic, but it totally is realistic because people do it. Right.
Yeah. You're constantly just being hit with other people's fears.
Exactly.
Like people just, they immediately shut down the idea because inside of them, they're just afraid of like, well, I wouldn't be able to do that. So that must be scary for him to even think that that's a thing.
Yeah. And it's also because people fail and then they don't try again. And that's like they may have wanted to be a fucking astronaut and then they failed and they were like, oh, I guess I'm not gonna be an astronaut. I'll go to bagging groceries. And it sucks because it's the same thing with trying to improve your community and trying to improve the world. Is if you talk about how I want a world where everybody gets along. That's a utopian dream. You're crazy. There's no way that's going to happen, And it's like, of course not, because nobody's thinks it can, like that's the only reason.
I just say not with that attitude.
Yeah, totally. But, I think if we can educate slowly, I mean, and it's not like this is my idea. This is Aubrey Marcus's idea as well. He does that in his way. And there's just so many, there's a lot of intellectuals that are like Sam Harris. I don't know if you know.
Love him.
Yeah. So like Sam Harris, he has these big open forum discussions in public, and it's like creating this like intellectual revolution right now where people aren't afraid to say that they're an atheist, or they're not afraid to bring their voice out and criticize things that need to be criticized. Like he's kind of allowing this whole new platform to, and then, like there's all these different versions of that, like with Aubrey Marcus, he is a, wealthy CEO who also happens to do psychedelics and advocate for them in a way that's, it's like, you can't say that doing psychedelics makes you a loser. This guy's worth $40 million, so it's, and same thing with Joe Rogan, a stupid stoner. It's like the dude's, like an MMA athlete. And
I mean, it all just comes back to intention with that. Is when people look at people who use, let's just use drugs, for example. It's so easy to write people off who say that they're going to use drugs as like, oh, okay, well, you must be a druggie. It's like, well, no. What are you doing the drugs for? Who are you doing the drugs with? And what is your ultimate goal with them? If you can answer me those like 3 questions with good intentions, and like your purpose with it all is if it's going to teach you something, then by all means, you should be able to do that as a human being. You should be able to explore the own depths of your mind and understand why we do the things that we do. To think that we need to only be experiencing the dimension that we're in currently is just, I think, just not fair. Like,
well, and the same notion can go for eating food even, I mean, it's like anything you do, it's just the only difference is that one's been demonized by society and culture and one hasn't. But you can mindlessly eat fast food and not be conscious of it and just shove shit in your mouth and have no reflection on how that's going to impact the rest of your life. If you eat fast food every day, maybe you're going to have a heart attack later. Maybe you're going to suffer from heart disease. Maybe it's going, you know what I mean? So it's the same thing. You have negative consequences from doing anything that you choose to do, especially if you do it mindlessly. And so if you choose to take hold of it, then you can start to realize that our brains are nothing but chemistry. So everything that we experience in life is a result of neurochemistry. That's just our perception is synapse. And so if you take caffeine, you're altering your consciousness. I mean, that's what you're doing. So you're taking this little boost of caffeine. It's going to give you an elevated thing. You're changing your consciousness. Same thing for drugs, same thing for anything. Someone can do too much caffeine. I'm guilty of it all the time. I go through these waves of drinking way too much coffee. And so it's like that can be just as mindless as someone who smokes weed way too much, or someone who smokes crack way too much. But I almost think that crack is pretty hard to be intentional with. But I guess you never know, right?
I mean, I've always liked the saying, all things in moderation, including moderation.
Yes.
But even a good thing can become a bad thing. Like, I've abused exercising.
Absolutely. Me too. Yeah.
I can eat, it's an apple, but when you have 10 of them, you're now just putting your body in some type of sugar shock. It's just like,
totally. Yeah.
You can't justify your actions based on
Or
I
washing your
don't know.
hands. There's people that wash their hands too much, and then
Yeah.
they get this OCD compulsive
Hmm.
hand washing addiction, you know? And that's
Yeah.
something that you would never think would be an addiction, but there are people out there that can have that as an addiction and mindlessly clean their surroundings. It's like, what? That's something that
Yeah.
you would never think could become an addiction that totally can. So it's just, and we're all going through it. Like we're all figuring it out. And
Hmm.
there's going to be high points and low points in just about every area. So, and it's
Hmm.
amazing to me that I can get myself totally back on track with diet, exercise, caffeine intake, whatever. And I'm like,
Hmm.
I'm never going to stop doing this again. And
Hmm.
then 6 months later, I am totally off the wagon, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I'm about to start my caffeine weaning off process. A, just to prepare for Peru, and then B, because I tried to do cold turkey like about a month ago, and I was 2 days in the cold turkey, and I was like, nope, I cannot do it that way
yeah.
because I was just so unaware of how much it's doing in the background, I guess, that caffeine,
Yep.
that I love it every morning. I like the
Me
routine
too.
of it. I like waking up, making it. It's
Yeah.
like an intimate thing. I just
Well,
enjoy it.
and that's what the brain does with things that change your consciousness. So, like with caffeine, for example, your brain ties these things to that dopamine spike. So, when you get the dopamine, it's like, oh, like your brain subconsciously is like, okay, so this equals this, which means if I, get up and I have a warm cup of coffee, like that warm sensation becomes a trigger in a way. Like this sounds so ridiculous talking about coffee, but it's true.
No,
Like
I get what you're
the
saying.
warm sensation becomes like a trigger for, okay, when I wake up, I need something warm in
Hmm.
my hand. It's not necessarily I need coffee. It's all
Yeah.
these different things that associate that experience because your brain wants dopamine. And it's like
Yeah.
this end result that it ties all these other things to, that you feel all these motivations to do all of these things because
Hmm.
subconsciously that at the end of all those things you're going to get that. And it's really funny because like I was just talking about this last night with Dr. Steve Novella, the neuroscientist guy. It's like when you really break down what you're doing, everything is motivated by the desire to get something, like whether dopamine or serotonin or whatever these neurochemicals are. It's like it's all a survival instinct.
Hmm.
And like like food cravings will
Hmm.
totally change who you are. Like they will make you a completely different person. And it's bizarre. I mean, it's have you read his book, A Skeptic's Guide to the Universe?
No. I
Okay,
saw that you posted about it.
definitely check it out. It's really good.
Okay.
It's very long. I mean, I am like I read it, but it's so long. It's like 26 or 28 hours on Audible.
Oh,
So
whoa.
yeah, it's very long. It's worth the money though. And I breezed through it pretty quick, which it's just I like geeking out about that kind of stuff. So
Yeah. I'm a big reader as well. I'm actually going through this process of like detaching myself from my books and actually gonna like sell them just so I don't know. I have such a weird fascination with them.
what's wrong with that?
Just cause like I think deep down like I want to be a minimalist,
Okay.
and books are like the only thing really keeping me from that. So for Christmas, all I wanted was this luggage set, and I have the carry-on in the medium size, and I want to be able to fit all of my belongings into those two bags.
I've been there before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Kendra and I pretty much are there right now, except that we have a car and a fifth wheel and a bed. I mean, but like for a
Well,
long
the
time.
car, I don't count the car.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, but for a long time, I mean, all we had was, I mean, we could fit everything that we owned in the back of our car easy. Not
Yeah.
even, it wouldn't even be cramped. And then when we moved up here, we started acquiring a little bit more stuff like dishware and stuff like that. But realistically, like, I don't like it when I have things that start to take up shelf space. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so what aren't we using? Let's get rid of it right now. Because I feel like I want to be able to throw my shit in a bag and leave at any moment in time.
Yes.
So
I love that. So yeah, my books are holding me back from that.
well, how many
Freedom.
books do you have? Are they right there? Can you pan over?
Probably like around, because I have 3 bookcases, so probably near like 400.
Damn, girl, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
I've been accumulating. Well, I usually read. I haven't been lately, but I usually read upwards of 1 to 2 books a week. Definitely like 1.5 is what I
I
average.
Yeah, I can't say that I do that because I listen to them, and that doesn't really count. Like,
You don't think so? Because I do include, like, sometimes it's Audible. Just depends on, I don't know,
yeah,
if I have a book on there.
I feel so pretentious because I read like 6 books a week probably with Audible. So
Yeah.
I listen to because I just like what happens with me a lot is I'll find an author that I like, and then I'll buy all their books and just listen to all of them. Like Robert Greene, do you know who he is?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I went on a Robert Greene kick, and now I have every Robert Greene book that's ever existed. But it's all on my Audible, so I guess that's
Yeah.
your key is now you can bring them with you. Just get them on Audible
Yeah.
and get a
Gosh.
Kindle. You can throw a Kindle in a bag.
I know. I've always felt so against doing that, though. Like, just having a book on a screen. I already look at enough screens as it is. The
I
book is like
understand.
I just like
Yes, I
it.
agree with you. That's why I said that it
Oh,
doesn't count because there's
yeah.
something about holding a book
I
that is
know.
so much better than listening to it or look. I can't do it on the screen either, you know.
Yeah.
The thing with like my job is that I I have like 3 mediums. I have to listen to music, listen to books, or listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
Um, and I can't do any one of them for too long. You know, like I can do
Yeah.
it. I can
Switch it
do
around.
yeah. So, but like right now I'm reading or see I said like total tool bag saying reading because I'm not reading shit. But right now I'm listening to the Escaping the Rabbit Hole, which is by the Mick West. I just interviewed him yesterday
Okay.
or 2 days ago, but that podcast is up, and he's a like a debunker, you
Oh,
know?
that one was about like flat earth and stuff, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I haven't listened to that. It's in my, like, I have a long queue. Like, when I see an
cool.
episode, because I just follow so many different ones,
Yeah.
I just add them to the queue.
What are your top five?
Oh, Aubrey Marcus for sure. Joe Rogan, depending on the material that
Yes.
he's covering. Um, Gosh, for comedy purposes, I love me some Crystalia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got. Other than that, I've been really loving Inner Truth and The Third Wave. Those are good ones.
You ever
And,
listen to Duncan Trussell?
oh, I love Duncan.
I
He's up
know,
there
right?
too.
He's so good.
God,
I,
he's the most unique human being
I know.
out there.
It's so shitty because I used to talk to him all the time, like five
Yeah.
or six, maybe 7 years ago. I would talk to him all the time. We would like talk about crazy shit, you know, conspiracies or like
Oh
weird
shit.
weird stuff. Like we would just talk about whatever. And then I deleted my Facebook and I disconnected at that point. This was like 7 or maybe even 8 years ago. And then I now like he probably doesn't remember me and I cannot get a hold of him. I want to get him on my podcast so bad and I can't get a hold of him. And it's driving me crazy knowing that I used to talk to him and I totally could have used to have him, but now I have a podcast and I can't get a hold of him. It's like,
Keep
you know,
reaching out.
I will. I have like,
Yeah.
so there's like 5 or 6 people that I have set reminders for that I just every single month, I just hound, you know?
That's cool.
It's annoying
Yeah.
probably for them, but eventually
Oh,
they're
you
gonna
gotta do what you gotta do.
yeah,
Yeah.
eventually they're gonna tell me to fuck off or they're gonna tell me that they want to be on the podcast, you know. So or they don't
Yeah.
want to, but they feel obligated to. So
Hey, whatever works.
yeah, totally. I know. Candra's like, so you're because like Joe Rogan's one of them, you know. Candra's like, so you're just gonna email him again? Okay, you know. I'm like, and every time I email him, I write something completely different. Like,
Yeah.
you know, because I'm like, one of these things probably because I feel like if him and I talked, we would totally vibe because a lot of the same stuff that he's into, I'm into, and all this stuff. But it's like everybody probably feels like that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
for
he probably
sure.
gets
I
these
totally
emails.
think that too.
Yeah, and you're probably right though. I mean, the reason why everybody thinks that is because he is so neutral on everything. Like
Yeah,
he
that's
can
why I
talk to
love him.
he can talk to
Fantastic.
anybody about anything. So it'd
Yeah.
be really hard. The only time that I've ever seen him like not really mesh well is with did you watch that one with Brian Deming like 3 or 4 years ago?
I don't think I was listening to him then.
Okay. There's this guy that he has this thing called Skeptoid magazine, and it's a
Okay.
skeptic magazine, which normally I really like. But he got on there and like wrote a blog about Joe Rogan and how Joe Rogan promotes pseudoscience and all this stuff. And then he went on Joe Rogan's podcast and he was just a total douche,
Was
like,
he?
oh my God, it was so weird. I'm like listening to it and the whole time I'm like this, like, because
Oh, that's the worst feeling when you like cringe for other people.
yeah,
It's
I
just like
was
I'm embarrassed for you.
exactly. And that's how I felt. It was like, you'd have to listen to it, but he was basically saying that Joe Rogan, like Joe Rogan thought 9/11 was a conspiracy. And Joe Rogan's like, I don't think that. I never have said that I think that. Like, and he's like, well, you said that it looks like building 7, fell at free fall speed. And he's like, well, that's because it does look like that. Like, that's what it looks like. And then he's like, well, yeah, it does look like that, but that doesn't mean that you should say it. And he's like, what? And it's like, this guy just comes out from left field with this craziness. And I don't know. It's so hard to listen to. But it really is. It's really hard to listen to. And but aside from him, I think, Joe Rogan's kind of got along with everybody, it seems like.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah. And even when there's boring people on there, it's like he still manages to weave through.
You still learn like so much about it. Like there really hasn't been, even though I am sort of biased in the episodes that I choose to listen to. It's because you're committing to like a 3-hour thing. So it's just
Right.
like, my brain can't like usually stop something once I start it.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know, but you turn it on and you're just like, wow, this ended up being something completely different.
Did you listen to the one that he recently did with the guys that own that restaurant up in Canada?
Tom Papa and
No, it was I can't think of the name of the guys, but they own a restaurant up in Canada, and I wish I could remember who it was. I'm sorry, but it was kind of what you're saying. It's like so unexpectedly good. I
yeah.
didn't think that I was going to like, especially in the beginning, they talked about like killing frogs or something. And the way that they were talking about, I was like, what am I listening to? And then towards the middle of it, they just started talking about alcoholism and how, like he's sober now. And it just turned into this really powerful podcast.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about it is it's like everybody's story is interesting.
Exactly.
And that's what I love. That's what I love about this medium is no matter what, like you tend to think that you're the most interesting person in the world and everybody else around you is really boring. But it turns out that everybody's really interesting in their own way, even if they're just like the most ignorant, racist bigot. That like, if you just remain calm throughout the situation, you can have a great conversation. And who knows if you're ever going to change someone's mind about anything, but the conversation can be great, So it's weird.
And I've just always loved the idea of like, there's literally not one person walking this earth right now that has lived the same experience as you and has anywhere near the perspective that you have. So there's always something to be learned from every person that you meet.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, I've always been like, even when I was little, I was always just interested in looking around, wanting just to understand why everyone was here. Like, how did you get here? Like, what have you done in your life to get you to this moment right now? Like, how are we talking? Like, that to me is so cool.
I feel you on that 100%. I've said this now this will be the third podcast in a row where I've talked about this, but I got this new coworker at work who's a total flat earther, and he's like a fundamentalist Christian. So that's like the total polar opposite of me, like
Yeah.
to the utmost extreme probably. And for some reason, I just like it. Hearing him talk, I'm like, okay, that is extreme and you're crazy, but I don't mind it. It's because it's like it's still because obviously his parents probably believe that they probably passed on this wisdom, and it's like you're only a product of your environment, and partially, anyways, and like you have to have compassion for that because it's still beautiful in its own way. No matter what, you're just like, oh, how did you get that fucked up? And then but that's how it is for everybody, right? I mean, like people could look at my life and be like, holy shit, what the fuck happened there?
Yeah.
But that's just how my life went, and that's what created who I am. So it's just weird, and I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I feel about my life. I look back on it and I'm like, but I wouldn't change a damn thing. Like,
Same.
I like the person that it has made me today. And knowing the things that I know now, I can't unknow them. So it's just like something really drastic happens and I completely revert back to my old ways, or I continue on this growth process that I'm slowly starting to like really fall in love with. And it's just, that's the point. It's slow. There was a part in my recovery where it was just like, I'm missing something. Like, why aren't the results coming quicker? Like, I'm doing all the things I need to be doing. I removed all of the toxicity from my life. So like, why can I feel this growth? But now that it's just like, it just slowly starts to accumulate. Like you acquire tools along the way and you keep those tools with you and you just keep learning new tools and bringing out the old ones when you need to like use them again.
Totally. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
So just dig in the dirt.
I think that it's been awesome talking to you. I got to wrap it up because I have actually another podcast after this. But
busy guy.
well, this is for the other one. This is for Top Tier next. I have
okay.
I have an artist that that he lives over in Hawaii, and I'm just like super stoked to talk to him. But so I'll keep you posted on that. Maybe you like those ones, maybe you won't. I don't know. But tell everybody how they can get a hold of you and your website and all that jazz.
Okay, so I'll just tell people 2 main points of contact. My website, which is healinghopefuls.com. That's where you can reach out to me personally more so. It goes to my email, so I'm more willing to answer that. And then my Instagram is just in my own words, but it's all separated by periods. So like in dot, my dot, you got it. But in my own words, yeah. So those are the 2 places you can find me.
Yeah, and if you can't find her, you can go to our Instagram, and I linked her on there. So I'm super stoked that we got to meet each other, and we should do this again.
Yeah, let's do it post Peru.
Yes, that's a great idea. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this already. When are you going to be back from that? When are you going and everything?
The beginning. So a little side note. So you know how I mentioned North Carolina earlier?
Yeah.
They offered me like I'm house sitting for them. So I'm going to Peru, and then the timing of it fell in line great. So I'm going from Peru straight to North Carolina, and I'm house sitting like out in their peaceful mountains. And I'm just like,
oh, wow.
What an awesome place for me to be able to integrate that experience.
That's so cool.
I'm so pumped about it.
I'm like so stoked for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, well, you'll totally know about it. We'll have to talk about it for sure. I'll be wanting to talk about it.
Oh, yeah. I will give you the platform for damn sure. I'm super stoked.
Cool. All right. But yeah, this was awesome. Thanks for having me.
I agree. And hang on. Just stay right there for just a second.
Okay.